Dun, 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 dun.
This week, we watched a movie where a giant monster animal is attacking citizens in a city, and the mayor doesn't want to do anything about it, and the police detective and a scientist is responsible for stopping it. We watched 1980s Alligator.
Barely got through that one.
Sorry, John Williams just killed himself just now. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that'll probably do.
All right.
Stabby Stabby.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Stabby Stabby. I'm one of your hosts, Greg, and today I am drinking an Other Half Green City Double Dry Hopped IPA. Still going with Other Half for another week. And Captain Interrupty over here, Dan, what are you doing?
Oh, how'd you know my Christian name? Yeah. My parents were actually at a movie theater when I plopped out, and they were like, "Here's Captain Interrupty over here," and they got shushed. And, that's how I was born. Hi, I'm Dan. I'm your other host, your only other host, and I'm drinking an Interplanetary Love from Rebel Hill Brewing Company, a little Pennsylvania brewer that I like a lot. I don't know, maybe you've heard Greg talk about them with his deep, melodious voice. Hey, Eric.
Hey, man.
What you up to tonight?
Hey, I'm Eric. I'm your other host, drinking an Edgar from Bullfrog Brewery. I went on a fishing expedition and we passed the brewery, so I did a stop in and got a shirt and some cans.
I like the idea of a bullfrog.
Fancy boy.
A bullfrog for a brewery logo is pretty ballsy, given that famous Budweiser campaign.
They've been around for a while in the craft beer. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's double IPA. It's pretty good. It's got a picture of Edgar Allan Poe on the cover with some tentacles and shit coming out of him. So,
hell yeah. Speaking of tentacles and shit coming out of it.
Exactly how he died. That's he died full of tentacles and shit, so.
I mean, it's kind of how we'll all go.
Yeah.
The shit being our bowels loosening and the tentacles being dragged into hell. Right? Isn't that what you guys learned in Sunday school?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tracks. Speaking of making sense, this movie made a lot of sense. This was not one of our typical affairs.
It had a plot.
I think so. It did. And it made sense from beginning to end.
All right.
The characters all had personalities. One guy's going bald. This was pretty good.
Yeah,
I guess spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. One guy's going
bald.
I mean,
one guy's going
Jesus,
bald.
Dan.
I can't believe he's going bald, raids Dan.
Man, just like our podcast, some of it makes sense, and one of them is going bald.
Don't make fun of me.
I've been there for a while.
Wait, can one of you guys fill me in? Because I have no memory. My brain is completely empty, and I'm stupid. How did we end up on Alligator?
Eric suggested it last week.
Yeah.
Right on.
So it was on DVD for a while, and then I think it went out of print, and I just ordered it from like one of those illegal. We probably should cut this. It's good. I got in the middle of it, and I was like, "Yeah, I illegally ordered it from the internet from a DVD rip." But yeah, anyway, yeah, I have watched it before. I have it on DVD. So
nice.
Do you have like an alarm that goes off if one of your like Jaws ripoff animal themed movies, like the DVD breaks, or if there's a Blu-ray that comes out or something? I don't know how you guys keep on top of your libraries.
Yeah. Actually, there is a book called Jaws Unmade. It covers like all the lost sequels, all the prequels, the remakes, the ripoffs. That has a lot of that kind of stuff in there. It's a
that's awesome.
It's a good little book. It doesn't really cover the alligator crocodile genre too much. There's like a tiny little section. It's mostly fish and whales and sharks and shit, but there's a little crocodile alligator section. So
now we can say that this is definitively a Jaws ripoff, right?
So they have really similar main characters. Yes. So they have
check one. Yes.
So they have a mayor subplot that is reluctant to do anything. So they have a hunter character that's eccentric and winds up maybe not making it to the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. I mean, so it happens to be a fish that's somehow more intelligent and gets larger than people are expecting. So it happens to brutalize locals in an area that just want to hang out and be themselves. I don't know. If you're going to call that a Jaws ripoff, I guess you could call it a Jaws ripoff.
There is some intimidating music from a POV shot too, from the alligator.
Yeah. They straight up use the Jaws theme in that shot?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. Yeah. I don't know. I also feel like it does have its own thing going on story wise, though. Like, yeah, the major plot things they mentioned, but it also has like a unique thing. It's not just like it's not a straight up. It's not Cruel Jaws or anything like that. You know? Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, it's an elevated ripoff.
Right.
The crocodile he doesn't just happen to be bigger and meaner.
It's an alligator.
And something to be afraid. Thank you. Well, you know what? I'm going to say right off the top, I'm going to use those words interchangeably, and all you science nerds out there can be 100% correct in being annoyed with me, and I'm going to sit here drinking my beer using those words interchangeably.
Now, I was actually going to correct you earlier because you called the alligator a fish earlier. So,
yeah.
You know what? I may not be a smart man,
but I know what love is.
No, that was the end of my sentence.
Thought we're going Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. So why don't we just let's just go and hop into the plot of this bad boy.
Do. Give me that plot. Give me that plot. Give me that plot.
Drop.
Now let's get to the plot.
So 1980s Alligator, directed by Lewis Teague, opens up on an alligator eye, and it kind of pulls back, and where are we at? We're at a alligator wrestling show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
A guy is going after the alligator. Now, it doesn't really look like wrestling, but he's approaching it, and the alligator just like grabs him by the leg, and he ends up kind of gnawing it off. But the one thing to kind of take note of is that there's like a family that we're focused on in the crowd, and the mom. I like the mom's just like, this is just the fake blood is too much, and the little girl's like, no, it's totally real. So the little girl really does seem into the alligator attacking this guy, not like super excited about it, but she's got no problem with it. And she ends up buying a little baby alligator on her way out and taking it home. And her parents weren't too happy about it, but they ended up getting it.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Like, I know that this takes place. I think they even date that flashback scene to like 1969.
68.
68. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like the number 69 better. So it even though it's back in the day and like there's a lot of things we can say they didn't know better back in 1968, you would think a grown-ass thinking adult with a child would know not to buy a souvenir alligator after watching a grown-ass man be nearly like mauled to death by one.
Well, her mom does say, like, well, what are you going to do with it when it gets too big? And she's like, I'll give it to a zoo or something. I've got that figured out.
Like you do.
I like how she's like, I'm going to name him Ramon. That's pretty great.
Honey, they're vicious animals. Did you see what it did to that man today? Oh, come on, honey. It's starting to rain.
What about when he grows up?
I'll give it to a zoo.
Pick yourself a cute one, honey. Go ahead. They won't hurt you. They're tender little babies. Come on.
Oh,
they good?
I'll call him Ramon.
Yeah.
Cute.
Well, come on, let's go, honey.
She names the alligator Ramon, which is
that.
a great name for an alligator.
Have you guys ever been to like a gator land in Florida or anything like that? One of those gator places?
No.
I kind of want to now.
Oh, yeah, I definitely want. Just like after Rolling Vengeance, where it's just like, I want to go to a monster truck show now.
I really do.
Yeah.
Man, could you imagine a sequel to Rolling Vengeance marrying a sequel to Alligator?
Yeah.
And it's just monster trucks against monster alligators?
Yes. Or a monster alligator driving a monster truck.
An alligator whose legs are removed and giant, huge rubber tires are put in their place.
Or it's like Truckosaurus, but it's just a giant alligator truck.
Wait, wasn't there like a huge flop movie called Monster Truck that was literally about a monster that lives inside of a monster truck? Like 5 years ago?
That was a kid's movie, though.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
All right, maybe we'll watch that some other time. Maybe that's a Jaws ripoff too. Let's find out.
Well, yeah, if it is, we'll get to it.
All right. So anyway, the opening scene teaches us not to buy baby alligators from gator zoos at Florida.
Yeah, but the little girl does, and she ends up taking it home, putting it in a very small aquarium in her bedroom, and then it cuts to like, I don't know, maybe a little bit in the future, and this is when we learn that it's 1968 because they have like the radio or TV on, and it very explicitly says that there's like a riot going on at the the 1968 Democratic Convention, which like we've all been through, political times, and nobody really refers to the current time as the year. Like,
right, that's right.
And the dad, I don't know if he just hates animals or whatever, but he's just like, where's whatever her name is, Marissa. She's at school. I'm getting rid of this alligator, and like he just takes it and like grabs it by the tail and just flushes it down the toilet.
Yeah.
And just like Psycho Pike, we get another like from inside the toilet POV shot.
Yes. And then it like goes in a circle and it gets all blurry when he's being flushed, and then follows a pipe. Like you get to travel with the gator. It's nice.
Yeah.
A whole new world. This poor little gator.
Little adventure.
Did you catch when the dad was like holding the gator by its tail and bringing it upstairs, and the mom was like, "What are we going to tell Marissa?" And he's like, "The same thing we told her about the hamster. It ran away," or something like that.
It died.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's worse.
Yeah, which is worse. Yeah.
What are you gonna tell Marissa?
We tell her we found it dead like we did with a hamster.
So there's like a 30-foot hamster in the sewer crawling around.
I want to see that movie.
You can just watch Night of the Lepus. It's a rabbit, but it's basically the same thing.
No, I want the hamsters to drive the trucks that are fighting the giant crocodiles. This movie's gonna happen.
TM, guys. This movie's happening.
Yeah, TM. Our idea.
So Ramon the alligator is now in the sewer, and you kind of see him land and just like fall out of a pipe and just kind of look around. I'll tell you, that little baby alligator is adorable.
They are.
It does make me want to have one.
They needed a voiceover for him, like make him an actual character.
Yeah, it should have been like the fetus from Baby Blood, where it just is like talking.
Now what do I do now that I've gotten here?
Kill your parents, Marissa.
Or it could have had like a record scratch and be like, "You're probably wondering how I got here," and then jump back to him being thrown in the toilet.
Guess I have to eat these mutated dogs.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a lot of pet abuse in this movie.
Oh, there's a significant amount. Yeah. It's par for the course for our movies here. But after we get Ramon into the sewer, it jumps 12 years to 1980 when the movie comes out, and we meet David Madison, who is a police detective, and he's at a pet shop buying a dog. And this is the first referenced, and he's played by Robert Forster, and it's the first time in the movie where he's like, people are just commenting on how bald he's going, which is like so funny to me.
Yeah, I read somewhere that was improvised, that like it was his idea, and I don't know if that's true or not, but to do the receding hairline jokes, because there's like 4 or 5 of them. It does not stop.
Yeah,
it's pretty constant.
Yeah.
I kind of like it as like a character beat. It gave him like some more personality to work with, because he's he's beat down at his job. He's got like professional problems and he can't crack this case. And then he's also going bald. Like the poor guy. And he just like by the end, he's just like screaming, like, I get it. Shut up.
I mean, going bald is not that big of a deal, guys. Like, you know, yeah.
No.
Especially if it happens in like early college. It's really not that big of a deal.
I mean,
tell us more.
To all of our bald listeners, like, bald is beautiful, but...
wait, what's the but?
But a big old beautiful head of hair is even better.
The butt is what we get if we draw a crack on the top of your head.
But yeah, so
can I just talk about Robert Forster quickly in case anybody doesn't know who he is? He's been in a ton of movies. Character actor, Black Hole, Vigilante. He's in Mulholland Drive, Breaking Bad. He was in 10 episodes of Twin Peaks, the follow-up in 2017. But the one thing I want to talk about quickly is that Tarantino said that his character, Max Cherry in Jackie Brown, is directly inspired by Dave Madison in Alligator. So just
no way.
Mention that little tidbit. Yeah.
That's rad as hell, because the entire time I was watching this movie, I thought, wow, this is the same exact character that he plays in Jackie Brown. It is. He's just like forlorn and kind of tired, and everything he does is just matter of fact.
Yeah, it's great. Pretty cool.
Oh, and the pet shop owner that he gets the dog from, he's important to remember for the next like 15 minutes of the movie. So after the pet shop, after he buys a dog, we end up at, I think it's like the water treatment plant or whatever, because they found like a chewed up arm and also a dead dog in the water. And so David is there investigating it, and they're talking about the dead dog, and kind of like a beat cop comes in and kind of says like, oh, come on out, like there's a lady here to identify the dog. And the lady looks at the dog, you know, we don't see it, but we can see like it's under a blanket, but it's a very big dog. And she's like, oh, like the markings on this dog are exactly like my dog, but she, you know, this dog is just way too big. And she holds up like a little tiny sweater that she had the dog wear, and she's just like, yeah. And she's like, oh, you know, my dog, you know, 2 weeks ago when she went missing. So another little foreshadowing of kind of what's to come in Alligator.
I love that little scene and that concept. It's so outlandish, but they play it completely straight. It's great.
Looks exactly like Taffy, but it's way too big. You know, she has the same markings, the same color, everything. This fit her 2 months ago when I lost her.
This sweater fit this dog?
You know, props to, I hadn't even thought of it like this, but props to this movie for actually having an explanation for having a giant alligator that I never second guessed once. I was just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, sure.
Yeah, totally.
It totally works. Well done.
Yeah, anytime you bring a like a pharmaceutical or science company into it, you can justify an animal being significantly larger than it's supposed to be, which is kind of where we're going now, because it cuts to a scene of the pet shop owner stealing a golden retriever off the sidewalk.
Like a stray dog.
Yeah, just a stray. Well, I don't even know if it's a stray. He was just walking.
Yeah, he had a collar, but I think he was picking up like neighborhood dogs that just got away from their houses. Yeah, like he's an asshole is what they're trying to set up, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. And we see him drive to Slade Pharmaceuticals, and he basically is dropping off dogs for animal testing to the scientist or the doctor there, and the doctor's like, you know, I need more dogs. I need puppies, so get me puppies. And I like that the pet shop owner is always just like, how about cats? He's like, I need puppies. He's like, I got a parrot I'm really trying to get rid of. Like, so like he's doing testing on animals, and these animals are not making it through because it's the pet shop owner's responsibility now to take the dead animals and discard of them and into the sewer. Because he ends up going to the sewer to like dump the dead dog bodies.
And a pretty fun sequence. Pretty fun sequence. A sequence where you watch a guy who abuses animals, disposing of animals that he lied about how they died, essentially down the drains, kind of like the opening scene where the dad flushes the alligator. Only here we watch his asshole get his comeuppance. It's pretty great. I cheered for the alligator in this opening scene.
As soon as we met him, I was like, he's gonna die, and it's gonna be well worth it.
I mean, once I saw the girth of him, I was like, this motherfucker's a gusher for that gator, and I cannot wait to see him pop. And we are not disappointed.
This movie does have there's several characters in the movie where I'm just like, oh, he's an asshole. And then they end up getting killed.
Yeah, it's great.
So they do kill some non-asshole people, but
nope,
the majority. Well, the one doesn't.
Nope,
the one definitely doesn't.
The pool seems questionable.
Yeah.
Two then. Yeah, there's at least two characters. I forgot about the pool scene.
Nope.
I can't wait to talk about that scene. I want to jump right to it, but yeah.
So the pet store owner gets murdered by the alligator in the sewer, and now we cut back to the water treatment plant because I think they find like his leg surfaces in the water, and one of the workers or somebody makes a comment that like, oh, this person must have been like a cat lover because his shoe is full of cat litter. Yeah,
he was also wearing alligator boots. Yeah, there's a great line. If this keeps up, I'm going to have to open up a spare part shop.
You know, if this keeps up, I'm going to open a spare part shop.
I love when you have a dead body and people are just making one-liners.
Cracking jokes,
our protagonist, it's not the first time we meet him, is he? When he's like holding up just a severed arm and putting it into like a shopping bag?
No, well, you meet him at the pet shop.
Oh, that's
first.
right.
He's buying a dog.
You're right. Did we talk about when the pet shop owner bites it? The like POV shot of the alligator creeping up on him.
That's cool.
And that was the moment where I have in my notes, this is just Jaws music. They just had the Jaws music as the gator creeps up on him. And do you remember the opening kill scene from Kingdom of the Spiders?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, the POV shot. Yeah.
When it's coming up on the cow. Yeah, it was like really similar vibes. And actually, I think a lot of this movie echoes Kingdom of the Spiders in a big way.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying it's a Kingdom of the Spiders ripoff, not a Jaws ripoff?
I think they're all essentially the same movie, and I'm on board. I'm here for it.
Yeah. One thing I actually forgot to mention, and it's coming. It gets referenced next scene. But in the when they first found the one dog in the water treatment plant, they said like all of its organs were like removed and its larynx was slit, dude. Or like removed as well.
I didn't catch that. Yeah, because that comes up later. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So because it jumped from that scene to the pet shop guy stealing like a domestic dog off the street. So that dog got stolen.
I didn't catch the larynx line earlier. So yeah, that's interesting.
So after they find the pet shop owner's leg, somehow David infers enough to go to Slade Pharmaceuticals to talk to them about what they're doing. Like
he's
they're
a good cop, you know.
He must be. Yeah. Well, they never explained it, but he kind of put two and two together with the pet shop owner. I think they identified who it was basically, and then he went there. But so when he's at the lab, David comments like, "Oh, you know, your lab animals are really quiet," and the doctor basically says like, "Yeah, well, when they come in, we remove their larynx so they don't bark."
And he says it with like a weird giggle or like smile where you're just like, "Oh, he's an asshole. I want him to die," you know.
Yeah, he says it like he wants to be congratulated for being so clever to come up with that idea.
To like a dog, like just silently barking, like barely barking, which makes it's not funny, but it just makes it
so
like,
nasty,
so pathetic, and you're like, oh Jesus.
There is nothing sadder than when you take like a dog's barker out and they try to bark. It is horrific. Like it is
abysmal,
horrible. Yeah. I would never do that. Don't take your dog's barker out. They have it for a reason.
Don't mutilate animals.
That's
our Stabby Stabby credo.
I think we can all agree on that one.
Guys, stab your friends, not your dog's larynx. a message from Stabby Stabby.
So David had visited the lab, and then our next scene has the scientist basically going to like the Slade Pharmaceuticals owner or CEO or whatever, basically saying like,
he's Slade. It's like his
titular
he's pharmaceutical
Mr. Slade,
company.
Then the guy who is his son-in-law to be, but basically he's just the main scientist or whatever. Anyway, he basically says like, oh, like a cop came today and he's sniffing around. He's gonna figure out what we're doing, and Slade pretty much just says like, don't worry about it. I'll just pay the people that need to be paid, and we'll be fine. Don't worry.
Keep torturing animals. I'll pay off the cops. It'll be fine.
Like that scene. Honestly, like that scene does not matter. I think for the rest of the movie, they could have just cut that out because it wasn't needed. Nobody ever gets paid off.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it was just the,
but it was short.
It was the introduction of his character, that there was somebody behind the scenes, like controlling everything.
Yeah. And I think the Slade Pharmaceuticals is trying to create, and we learned this a little later, but they're trying to create larger animals, to help cut down on like world hunger, or at least that's what they say.
I think they were.
So
they're just
you know,
making boner medicine, personally. I guess.
My dick's so big, but it's so hungry.
It's so hungry. Yeah. Yeah. So the whatever they were putting, like the hormones they were putting in the animals, cause them to get bigger, but it caused them to be like aggressively hungry all the time. Like they had to constantly be eating, and if we're dumping dogs into the sewer that are full of these hormones, and our titular alligator Ramon is eating these dogs, he's getting filled with these hormones and getting big and hungry. So moving on, we got David. He's at the police station now, and the police chief, Chief Clark, kind of forces him to do a press conference about the bodies that they're finding in the sewer. And I like that that David kind of comes in. He's hasn't shaved in a few days, and he's even wearing a shirt.
Like,
I think the police chief gives him a shirt to wear. So he gives a press conference. He pretty much says like, we don't know why people are dying. Like, we don't know what the situation is yet. But there is like one asshole journalist. That's pretty much like, weren't you a policeman in Chicago and your partner died, and it's kind of a weird situation, and it's just like, well, we're not here to talk about that. Like, I don't know, that guy, I understand, like, especially back in the 80s, like the journalist character was like, hard, like they pressed real hard to get information and stuff like that, but this guy just comes off like a douchebag.
It's not often at a police press conference where they're like, we're gonna catch this murderer, and then a reporter's like, well, aren't you a murderer?
Right, that's right. There was also a line like, do we have a Jack the Ripper situation? So going back to the Alec Hooper has that line, it was no boating accident and it wasn't Jack the Ripper, so there was a little connection there, maybe, potentially.
Nice. Yeah. Well, so speaking of killers, or would-be killers or potential killers, we've got after the press conference, some guy comes in and it confesses to the murders and basically says like, the radio told me to do it, and I'm going to blow up everybody in this police station and kill all of you. And they end up subduing him and finding out it was basically just like a fake. It was a radio on his chest.
Yeah, he had like a clock radio on his chest. Yeah.
But yeah, like this scene really is kind of, I mean, it's a little bit funny and it's interesting, but it is throwaway. The only reason anything that really comes out of it is that he recruits like this young cop to kind of join him to go into the sewer.
The guy breaks in there with an alarm clock strapped to his chest, and it does establish the alarm clock for later in the movie.
Yeah, totally. That's right. Yeah. So it is important.
But we'll have to talk about that because that what I just said really doesn't make any fucking sense. Like how they end up doing it later.
It's some MacGyver shit that they don't explain. But
real quick. Okay.
So he recruits a young cop, I guess Officer Kelly, I think, or his name
Jim
was Kelly.
Yeah.
They go down to the sewer to go look around. He didn't think it was an alligator at this point, right?
They're just inspecting the tunnels.
Yeah, so they're walking about. Before they left the police station, though, another cop gave them both like gas masks to wear. They were like, oh, just use this if you run into any methane down there. So there's actually a lot of foreshadowing of future things.
I also love that the whole methane mechanic in this movie felt kind of like diving to explore the ship when the head pops out in Jaws. Like apparatus, they have to like peer through the mist, and then there's like always a little jump scare because of it. It's a cool way to like spice up the environment in like a risky way for the character.
Nice.
I love that. I love that methane hook. It's a neat hook.
Yeah, and it comes in handy. So they are kind of searching around for a while. It's a fairly lengthy scene, but like it kind of they build a decent rapport.
Yeah, it ends in sexual harassment, but we'll get there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Same thing. It just ends with some goose in them.
Oh, yeah.
He really gets. He hooks a finger all the way into there.
Here's 3 minutes to end with this with a little butt ass grabbing.
We shouldn't explain the scene at all. We should just let the listeners hear that.
All right. I mean, hey, that's fine. So basically, like at one point, David loses track of Kelly, and he's looking for him, and it's dark down there. They have like little lanterns or whatever, but then Kelly sneaks up to him and just like pinches David's ass and just scares the crap out of him. But he does look like he goes knuckle deep.
Yeah, he really. It's quite the goose. It's quite the goose.
They build it into like a POV alligator attack shot. It's a fake out.
Yeah. But they kind of end up in kind of deeper water, and that's when they come upon they come up. Oh yeah, they come upon Ramon in the sewer, and it's kind of when you first get your first like good look at him. It's still dark, but you get to see just how big like his head is compared to a human. So he comes after him. They run away, and they get to a ladder to climb up to get out at a manhole, but the manhole seems pretty stuck, and David's at the top trying to push it out or push it off, and Kelly's at the bottom, and the alligator unfortunately gets a hold of Kelly's leg and drags him away. At one point, David is trying to like hold on to Kelly's hand and his arm and keep him there, but he slips away, and now he's lost another partner, because when he was in Chicago, the big issue was that his partner was killed. And we kind of get more backstory on that throughout the movie, but so now somebody else that was with David is dead.
Cool ass death scene.
Oh yeah.
That they show like POV from him looking down from the stuck manhole, and he's like trying to hold on to his partner, and you just see his partner, something grabs him by the leg and just yanks him, and he goes flying down like away from the hole out of view. And it's like legit, like pretty horrific. It's pretty horrific
I had
stuff.
The same note. It's like Chrissy getting dragged underwater suddenly, like she takes her last gasp. And
yes,
they kind of did that in Stranger Things too, in the pool scene. They kind of did a little Jaws ripoff. It's a great scene. And then he yells his name. He's like, Kelly. And they like really amped up the echoing effect, like in the tunnels.
Yeah, it was good. So from there, we have David waking up in a hospital. And it turns out that like he got out of the manhole cover and was just like screaming about, you know, an alligator, and I guess they thought he was nuts, and he was obviously kind of in shock and traumatized by what had happened. So he ends up in the hospital, and the police chief comes to see him, and the asshole journalist comes to find out what's going on.
Lights
and,
up a cigarette in the hospital immediately.
Well, you know.
Yeah, that guy's such a slime ball.
Sorry, Greg.
What if the asshole reporter and the crazy guy with the bomb strapped to his chest just happen to be like roommates?
I'd watch that shit.
So would I. What are you gonna do today? I don't know. I think I'm gonna stalk like a homeless man and threaten to kill him with a bomb. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna stalk a sick police officer and taunt him about his dead friend. Just like life with the shit bags.
Man, we're building up a pretty good alligator cinematic universe here, and I think we need to roll with it.
Ramon's like, why does everyone think I have a big head?
And somewhere else, a hamster is getting sentience to learn how to drive a monster truck. This is going to happen.
Yeah, get on it, whatever production company owns this.
You bull, make this movie, I dare you.
The chief is pretty great. Like his overacting and his... Right? The police chief? Anybody else?
I don't think we've had a movie where the police chief isn't the best character in the movie.
Yeah, he's incredible. He is so fucking fun. Like, he doesn't say his lines. He heart attacks them.
Every time he's on screen, you're just like, yeah. You just have a smile on your face. So he was nominated for an Academy Award for Godfather 2. Best Supporting Actor.
Damn.
He's in Last Action Hero. His name's Michael Vincenzo Gazzo. So he's the guy who played the chief. He's fantastic. I just loved him. Yeah, I had to look him up. I love him so much. So, yeah.
Every line he delivers does sound like he's like sitting on the toilet, just really trying to push it out. Because he's just it's all from the back of the throat and just like his shoulders. Yeah. He's
it seems like it hurts to talk to be him. You know. Like,
yeah.
Yes. He is made of hemorrhoids, and moving his mouth hurts all of them. I hope you can get like a super cut of just him delivering a couple of lines, just so we can get a taste. This crunchy delivery. It's wonderful.
What happened to Kelly? Did you find him?
Nothing. Not a sign of you know what either. Now look, stay a couple of days. Just take it easy.
Yeah, he's good. So David and Police Chief Clark won't give any information to the journalist, but he does end up finding out that David thought there was an alligator in the sewer. So that'll come up in a little bit, but so David and Police Chief Clark end up going to the reptile doctor, Dr. Marissa Kendall. And she basically says, like, I don't really believe that there's an alligator down there because it wouldn't be able to survive, and it'd be really small, and it just doesn't make any sense. But they keep she's got a lot of snakes in her office, like she's doing testing or whatever, and they keep they mention the snakes a lot, is what I'm saying. They're like, oh, are these your snakes? She's like, no, they're the schools, but you know, it's funny.
She's a snake lady.
Yeah, that's what the chief calls her. Get the snake lady to take a look. Yeah.
But we do end up learning that Marissa Kendall, Dr. Marissa Kendall, is the little girl from the beginning of the movie.
Bum, bum, bum. That's the biggest twist in the movie. Greg just ruined it.
The alligator. Well, it's not really a big twist at all. Because it doesn't matter. It's not like she has a psychic connection and can control the alligator or anything. But add that to the ACU that we're doing.
Yeah. The extended scene is when you find out that she's wrestling with the death of her father, and at the end of the movie she gets over him by pouring his fucking ashes in the toilet and flushing it.
Nice. Yeah, so they end up leaving the doctor and heading back to the police station. We've got like a locker room scene, which get ready, boys, because these are the best scenes. But it's no, it's just a bunch of cops in the locker room. They're reading an article about David. Written
one of them is reading it.
Asshole journalist.
One of them is reading it out loud to like a gaggle of other cops, and I kept laughing, thinking that like 4 cops couldn't read.
Dude, that was actually a cool transition because David, the Robert Forster character started reading the article in the car, and then the voice switched to the officer at the station reading to the other guy. Like I thought that was really cool. It was like a Coen Brothers transition. It was really cool.
I mean, like, this is probably a good time to mention this movie's really well shot and really well directed, and the editing was terrific. Like, there isn't incompetence is not on display. This really shocked me because I thought a movie called Alligator from 1980 was going to be like B heaven schlock terrible fun, and this was B and schlock, but it was not terrible, and it was still quite fun.
I think they knew what they were making. Like, they were self-aware. They were like, we're making a B movie, and we're just going to make it pretty awesome. You know, we're going to hit the tropes, but we're going to make it fun and like what we would want to see if we were kids. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just how I looked at it. Yeah, the directors did a bunch of Stephen King adaptations. He did Jewel and Nile. He worked with Roger Corman. He also edited Cockfighter, the Warren Oates
no
split.
shit.
Yeah, he was the editor on that. And the
damn.
screenplay, the writer John Sayles has quite the resume too. Worked on Piranha 2 years earlier. Did The Howling. He was nominated for Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay for 2 different movies, Passion Fish and Lone Star. So, like, you've got some pedigree. It's not just, I don't know. I think the talent's there.
Totally. It pays off. At least I thought so. Paid off.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we're still in the locker room and the cops are reading aloud this story about David. But they also put like a toy alligator inside of his locker, which is just like,
what
come
a bunch
on.
Of dicks.
That's rude. He's just got out of the hospital screaming about an alligator being in the sewer, and you're just going to fuck with him like that. That's messed up.
I was a little confused at this point. It took me a little bit to figure out that they all thought that he just hallucinated the alligator. I don't know why I didn't pick that up right away, and because I also thought, like, what the fuck? I thought, like, if they also understood that there was an alligator, then that would be like a real dickhead move. But I think they were just making fun of a person that was suffering from trauma, which is totally normal, acceptable, good laughs all around.
Yeah, I think like. They definitely didn't believe him yet, but it's just like, that's what I mean. Don't know. Yeah. It doesn't seem like a cool thing to do.
No,
like,
super
why
shitty.
are these cops the bullies?
I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's super shitty.
So from the locker room, now we got the journalist heading into the sewers, and he's got his camera, so he's taking pictures, and he ends up getting attacked and killed by the alligator. Which, hooray, good.
See ya.
I'm not anti-journalist or like journalism. I'm anti this guy. But he's got his camera and he's snapping photos as the alligator attacks, and all the most convenient things apparently get washed up into the water treatment plant because they didn't find any of his body, but his camera floats up, and the police are able to
develop his film.
Yeah, there's the word. The police are able to develop the film, and we get some pretty clear shots of a giant alligator mouth coming after him. So now everyone is on David's side that there is an alligator in the sewer, which is, like, honestly, like, obviously that's the story of the alligators in New York sewers is what it's based on, but like, I don't know. That's fun. I don't know where I was going with that, but it's fun.
It's a good kill scene. The camera flashing, and it's kind of like a strobe effect. It's pretty effective.
Yeah.
It's cool. Also, he gets the information from the nurse, who's like, oh, yeah, let me tell you about this cop who, when he came out of consciousness, was dreaming about and yelling about alligators in the sewer. And he's like, alligators, eh? Like, it's like totally a HIPAA violation that she just... like exposed.
Well, they didn't have HIPAA back then.
Okay,
so.
you just say whatever you wanted. Yeah.
yeah. Especially to journalists, you could just say, they're there to get that information.
Never go public.
Yeah. So the cops end up rallying around David's idea that there's an alligator there, and David kind of puts together a big plan to kind of flush out the alligator from the sewers, and basically they're all going to walk down all the different paths making noise to kind of push it back and have it exit just one open area where it's just going to be lined with a bunch of cops with guns. And so we kind of spend a lot of time at that exit with David, and Marissa's there, and she apologizes kind of for not listening to him and not believing him. The mayor is there saying, like, you know, we got to do something about this alligator because it's the tourists. We got to have the tourists come in.
I will not shut down these beaches.
I don't think he actually says anything about tourists, but so they try to do it, and it ends up not working. The alligator doesn't end up coming out. And so David is kind of defeated. He's very angry about that. And he and the police chief drive off, and they drive past like a bunch of kids like playing like stickball or something in the street. And maybe I'm old because I just call it stickball.
Yeah,
is that what they were playing?
Baseball, some shit. Stickball.
So the kids are playing in the street. The cops kind of drive past, and as the cops go past and a little bit down the road, the alligator just like busts through the sidewalk, and kind of just starts
cool
like
shot.
crawling through like the city street, and it's awesome
great.
looking.
It's a good like reveal.
Yes,
and they're like clearly shaking the camera like Star Trek style, and you're like, who gives a shit? I just want to see this thing bust through the ground.
It's never boring seeing like a scale model set get torn up by something. It's never, ever, ever boring.
Oh yeah.
It can be silly. It can not work or whatever, but it's never boring. I'm always entertained by it. I mean, you can tell that it's a small crocodile and like a little set, but I don't know. It was convincing. I bought it. It worked.
See, I thought it was an animatronic or a puppet.
Really? I thought it was just like a medium-sized alligator.
I don't know. I didn't look up any of the like special effects on it.
I don't know for sure. I think there's an animatronic. There's definitely a real alligator, and I'm not sure shot to shot. But the thing that is really weird is that Kane Hodder is uncredited as playing Ramon in parts. The alligator itself. So I don't know what that means. Was he in a suit, just like crawling on all fours? And and if so, there should be a sequel where Ramon talks to himself, like, where it's just
voiced by Kane Hodder.
in a rubber suit, just crawling around,
sitting, smoking a cigarette, sitting in a chair in a big alligator suit.
Totally.
I don't know who Kane Hodder is, and at this point, I'm afraid to ask.
No, he's like the most famous Jason.
Oh,
he's like
badass.
a stunt guy. He's
Yeah.
been in a ton of horror stuff. He got lit on fire and has scars from it. He's got a podcast. He's really cool, but it was weird to see his name. I was like, wait, what? What?
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
I would love
That's
to
awesome.
see a feature on the special effects.
Yeah. So the gator breaks out of the sidewalk, and a cop car kind of drives up, like just kind of like a beat cop, and ends up crashing and gets kind of stuck in the car and does get out, but the alligator attacks him and ends up killing him. And the alligator just goes ahead and saunters off. We got a little kid that saw it, ran home to get a knife.
Yeah,
which I thought was pretty funny. And it was my favorite part of the movie because the mom is on the phone and he comes in yelling about like an alligator, and she's just like, "Oh, he's going nuts. He was outside playing alligator with his friends."
And she's like drinking the beer at the same time too.
Yeah.
And he hauls ass out of the house with like a huge kitchen knife, and she's not worried about him running out with a knife. It's that it's her good
That's
knife.
Right,
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm on the phone. I said later. I'm sorry, honey. The kids are outside playing alligator, and Joey's driving me bad. What was that? Oh, yeah. Now, Joey, come back here. Now he's got my friend now. Joey's driving me crazy.
But yeah, so that kid ends up talking to David and Marissa, basically, and Marissa asks like, "Well, how big would you say he was? Like, is he bigger than David?" And he's just like, "Yeah, he's bigger than a car, and that's not counting his tail." So now they kind of know, all right, this is a really big alligator. It's been seen. So it's pretty cool. And so the next day, They're kind of like the base. Marissa pretty much says, like, you know, if he's not in the sewer anymore, he's gonna want to go to land. He's eaten. Not to land, to water, to rest. So they're kind of looking all over for him. They're kind of at like a canal or a lake or something in a park, and this is when the police chief brings up, I think it's Colonel Brock, played by Henry Silva, who is a like big game hunter, and they brought him in to try to like find and kill the alligator, and David does not take kindly to that. He pretty much says, like, I'm not reporting to this guy. Like, good luck. You know, it's on you guys now.
And from the get go, this Colonel Brock is he has the face of an asshole. Like, he has one of those hittable faces. He's brilliantly cast as like a cocky, drunk alligator hunter.
He's great. And he's been in a ton of crap. He always plays a criminal or a gangster. He's been in a ton of like international films. He was in Manchurian Candidate. He was in Ghost Dog, which is an awesome movie, and a ton of other stuff. But I love how he's dressed in like khaki, like African safari, like he's hunting like big game elephant like in the city. It's awesome, and he's hitting like on all the women inappropriately. Immediately, he's fantastic.
You reminded me a lot of the hunter character from Scream of the Wolf.
Oh, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Just like really full of himself, and super alpha and cocky, but like undeservedly so. Yeah, it's like same character beats. He even makes a mention that it's just like, well, it wouldn't really be fair if, what does he say? He pretty much says like, oh, like I put myself in danger because that's exciting, or I forget what wording he used, but it's similar to the guy in Scream of the Wolf, where it's just like you're never more alive than when you think you might die.
Right? Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's great.
And we'll see it. We'll see where it gets him.
Too long. Not too long.
Yeah, he's not in the movie much.
Yeah, this whole movie is a tall glass of comeuppance. For sure. That's for sure.
Totally.
So we've met Brock, who's now leading kind of his own. He's just going out on his own pretty much to hunt. Like the cops brought him in, but he's just like, well, yeah. But it's just he should be like arranging the cops, like like running a task force pretty much. But he's just like he's like the hunter in Jumanji. Like just walking around with a gun anywhere he goes.
Right, Are you gonna cover the alligator stool scene?
Probably not.
Maybe we could just say that there's a scene where they reveal a giant puddle of alligator caca, and it's glorious.
It's a big old pile of shit.
That's all.
It's a good shot of shit.
He's like, he's a big one. Don't step in it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that line all the time.
I don't think we're there yet. So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So now we're back into Marissa's lab or whatever, and they pretty much discover that the dead dog that they found at the beginning of the movie had like high hormones, like high levels of hormones for something, and it basically this is where we kind of learn that whatever Slade Pharmaceuticals is doing is making the dogs grow larger.
Bum bum bum! What a twist!
And which vis-a-vis is making Ramon grow larger. So that's when we're now at Slade Pharmaceuticals, and this is where they say that they're developing big farm animals, but they get really hungry. So
I like that sales pitch. What do you do here? We develop big farm animals.
We make big old piggies.
I code fat cows.
Yeah, I want a big pig and a fat cow. So so from there, David is back in the police office.
Yeah, it's like an office or a station.
Sitting in his cop cubicle, working on his police issue keyboard.
Couldn't think of the word station. So from there, David is now back at the police station, and the Chief Clark goes ahead and informs him that he's no longer on the police force and needs to turn over his badging gun, all because like he didn't want to work for Brock. Like he didn't want to like give up his case basically.
Abruptly,
but he didn't do anything.
Like I thought the chief was cool, and then all of a sudden he's like, "You're off the force. You pushed too far," and you're like, "What? Where did that come from?"
Oh, you know what? I think this is where Slade paying, like when he's like, "Oh, I'll pay off. Like, don't worry, I'll take care of it." Like David was on, like he came to the lab a couple times. He knew like the pet shop owner was the guy dumping the stuff. So maybe because the chief does say like, you know, this wasn't my decision. It came from above. And I think that's Slade. I think the mayor is at the party with Slade later in the movie.
He is.
Yeah. Okay. I just couldn't tell if that was the mayor or not. So David's kicked off the police force. He and Marissa end up deciding to go hunting for the alligator in the sewer by themselves, and they kind of find like its home base where like a bunch of like dead dogs are stored and things like that. And what do you want to do after you find a bunch of dead dogs in the sewer? You want to go back to your apartment.
You want to go make kissy faces
together. Yeah.
Let's reminisce. Let's reminisce about those guts we looked at.
Was there nudity in this film?
Almost.
There was zero nudity.
Yeah.
Almost.
You see Robert Forster with his shirt off a couple times.
You see some high quality man titties.
We should mention that he goes in and grabs dynamite and a clock, the radio timer, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
From the police storage, whatever, the evidence.
Yeah, so after he's fired, he goes to the evidence room and takes the clock bomb from earlier, and also just like a thing of dynamite that's sitting
that they
there.
have sitting there.
So at the apartment, we do kind of see that that David and Marissa's relationship is growing. She says she's going to stay the night. So good for them. So from that like really loving scene, we do go to like a Halloween party, like a costume party full of kids.
Hell yeah.
And 2 kids dressed as pirates start like pushing. I think he's dressed up like the third one is dressed up as like a cowboy. Yeah. So they're kind of pushing the cowboy kid and saying he's going to walk the plank. And earlier we had like a helicopter shot, and you saw that the alligator was in a pool, like chilling out in a pool, and they walked the little cowboy kid to the pool and end up pushing him in.
The plank is the diving board.
Yeah. But so he is now in the pool with the alligator, and the alligator immediately kills him. And the pool just is full of blood. So now at least they know where the alligator is.
And we've seen an 11-year-old
die. My
die.
notes just say they killed a kid with exclamation points. But they killed a kid in Jaws too. So Alex Kittner gets
Jaws,
eaten, and blood spurts all over the place in the water. So they killed a kid in this one too.
Might as well
kill a little kid in the Blob remake later in the 80s, and
it's effective.
Yeah, sometimes you got to kill kids.
It is shocking.
All right, so now we have the kid eaten, and we now have a scene where Brock recruits 3 like random dudes to help him with like tracking the alligator, and I think he offers them $10 a day, and that seems pretty good.
It's got some racist undertones. If you watch this movie, it does. This scene's got a couple of problematics.
I think it's on purpose. I think it's I don't know if it's necessarily like the screenwriter or the time. I think they're painting this character as a total asshole.
So from there, he kind of goes on there. They're tracking it. This is where they kind of go down an alley, and they find just a big old pile of alligator shit, which honestly I've never really thought about an alligator taking a dump, but this movie gets you thinking.
It's educational.
Yeah.
Show this in school.
And they end up finding the alligator, I think, in another alley or whatever, and Brock pretty much was like, you guys are supposed to follow me. And they're all just like, no, I'm good. Thanks. Like, well, I'm not trying to die. But one does end up going with him, and Brock finds the alligator. I think he shoots at it, but he ends up getting eaten. Very Quint-like.
Yes.
Yeah, they show his whole body. That's like whole body shot of the croc with him in his mouth, and you really get a sense of scale. It's great.
Great kill scene. Awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. So our big game hunter who was brought in dies almost immediately. He's probably in the movie for about 15 minutes. 3 scenes, maybe 4.
It'd be like if Quint died on the beach when he arrived.
right.
Just Jaws crawls out of the water, eats him, and crawls back in.
You know me. You know what I do for... that's good enough.
The scratching on the chalkboard lures the shark into the room.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, so after Brock is dead, we have a scene of David and Marissa in a diner, and they are being kind of cute together, and then 2 cops come in, and David learns that Brock is now dead, was killed by the alligator.
Nobody's
and
sad.
Like, they're not really sad about it, but like David gets like that's a button for
triggered.
him. Like he gets
That's
like
true.
real shitty. Like he gets real snippy with Marissa. And that kind of turns their relationship for about 5 minutes of the movie.
Until they bang again.
Until she invites him to see her rock collection.
With her crazy ass mom with the evil eye.
She's great.
Do you know I have an evil eye? Bet you can't tell which one it is. Is it this one? Or is it this one? Did you like that?
I loved her.
Yeah. Well, hold on.
Sorry,
we'll get there in a second.
Sorry, I want to date that mom. I love that mom. She's great.
I want to meet that mom.
She is.
So Marissa gets upset and leaves and goes home. David that night has a slow motion nightmare dream sequence where he's kind of replaying the scene where Kelly died, or the police officer who got killed by the alligator in the sewer. And he wakes up and he I guess feels bad about what he did to Marissa. So he ends up going over to apologize. And this is where we meet her mom, who just talks incessantly and weirdly. But she seemed like a nice person. My favorite thing about her is Marissa is a teacher, but she always comments to her, say, like on the phone and stuff, saying like, it's a school night. Don't forget to do your homework.
Later they
funny.
mentioned that the chief and the mom should like hook up. And I'm like, yeah, I would watch that also.
Yes.
Yeah,
that would be another film.
Same.
But so Marissa and David do end up making up, and they decide to go hunting for the alligator yet again.
But can I just point out there's one really good line where she's like, are you sure you're okay being stuck with a girl like me, or something like that? And what's the line that he says? Something like, what's not to love? You've got a doctorate degree and beautiful tits.
Yep, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, well, what do you need me for?
What does anybody need anybody for? You're the country's leading herpetologist. You have a wonderful mind, a doctorate degree, and beautiful tits.
He's a man that knows what he wants and knows what he likes.
He seemed to be okay with it.
Brains and bras.
I mean, at least that was like 3rd or 4th on the list.
That's true. Yeah. He put it at the end. Yep.
Yeah. So good for him. Good for you, David Madison. So after that, we've got a incompetent police boat scene where they're kind of
the Keystone Cops.
They're on like a lake they're on a canal, and they're looking to see if the alligator's down there, and they see the alligator and they start shooting at it, but they gun their boat at it and end up like riding over it, flipping the boat and everything.
They ramp off it.
Yeah. For no reason. They didn't have to.
The cop boat ramps off it and flips over. And no, wait, it doesn't flip over. Like 2 of them stay on, but like 3 of them fall out.
and the one guy he's trying to swim to. Oh no, the boat it doesn't flip over. A couple fall out, but it goes off the canal and explodes.
Ah, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, it's like a car chase, but with a boat. So there are a couple people in the water. One guy tries to get to the other boat, and as he gets there, the alligator gets his legs, and they pull him up, and his legs are gone. And that was pretty cool because that looks like they straight up used like an amputee for that.
Sure. It looked great. Yeah, it was pretty shocking. Yeah.
But it was when I say it was just police ineptitude, it is the decisions that they made during this like alligator fight scene were so dumb.
Now that we're talking about it again, I wonder if we were to scrub through the movie and look at the cops in that boat, study their faces. I wonder if they're the same 4 or 5 cops that were reading the news article in the locker room earlier. Yeah. So it could be like more comeuppance. Also, like any of these old movies that just have like senseless like violence happening to goofy cops is always so much fucking fun to watch. So much fun to watch every time.
That's why there's like 12 Police Academy movies,
I was just
man.
gonna say that. It felt like a Police Academy like sequence for some reason.
Yeah.
Just ridiculousness, over the top, like boats ramping and yeah.
This is where the movie starts really ramping into Crazy Town, because then we get the like society-esque wealthy wedding scene.
Slade Mansion.
Yeah. So right before that, we Marissa and David show up to like the canal there to find out what was happening, and the one guy who survived says like, oh, he was headed down that way towards Slade Mansion. And that's when we cut to Slade Mansion, and there's the wedding of the old man Slade. His daughter and is marrying the scientist that we met earlier.
Larynx cutting
I
guy.
did not care. Yeah, the guy who was testing on the dogs.
So it's like a marriage of powers, like the mayor's daughter and the pharmaceutical giant doctor.
Oh, was it the mayor's daughter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why the mayor's there and he gets eaten. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: mayor gets eaten. It's pretty great.
Son-in-law earlier, like in the room or something like that. So yeah.
Yes, there's mingling power dynamics, and they get interrupted by the. Well, I guess actually they get interrupted by the fruits of their labor. Their misdeeds come back to literally eat them.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because like he's grilling up these like big steaks on a grill, and he talks about how like you could smell the meat from far away, and then like he's kind of like wafting it towards like the bushes, and we get like a POV shot of the alligator walking in like in the bushes, and there's just like a little dog sitting there kind of looking at it. But then when the alligator comes out, man, this thing just ravages that wedding, and it is awesome.
They're throwing tables, throwing people. They straight up like I swear you see some on-screen injuries with the way they like bowling pin people with other people. It gets pretty nuts, this last sequence.
Well, my favorite part was you see them like cutting the cake earlier, and I'm just like, if that cake doesn't get destroyed, this movie is lost to me. Like it's dead.
Chekhov's wedding cake.
Yeah. But sure enough, a guy does go flying through the wedding cake, so it was worth
like
it.
A quick spot where they like freeze and they both have cake on their faces. They like look at the camera real quick. It's great. It's just blood and mayhem. It's awesome. Yeah.
It's a fun scene.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
And
they really sell like this crocodile. It's just he just is whipping around his tail, and it's just devastating everything. And it kind of makes me happy that our hero really only encounters him in narrow tunnels where that tail can't really come into play that much. Actually, no. You know what? He does get whipped by the tail later.
He gets whipped a little bit later.
Yeah. Never mind. Take it back.
But well, I mean, this sets up that like that hurts. You know?
Yeah.
Like, so when he does get hit later, like it makes sense that he's kind of
dazed
knocked back very hard. But so this alligator wedding massacre is great. Now the part where like old man Slade runs to like his limo or like his car and like locks the door so that the mayor can't get in. And you see kind of the alligator just like walking up behind him, and he, this is when the mayor gets chomped down and killed. And Slade, I think, thinks he's safe in the car, but the alligator like slams the windshield with its tail, and basically it just crushes the entire car.
Awesome scene.
Like killing both the driver and Slade on the inside. Yeah, it's great.
They go a long way to sell that like his fucking head gets crushed by the roof of the car cutting through it. Like they really want you to know what happens to him. I don't think you see any gore or anything like that, but they took their time showing him die, which felt great. Felt really good.
Yeah, well, he caused it, so
I wrote my notes at this point.
His death.
I wrote in the notes in this point. So this cop will kill asshole cops, sleazy reporters, corrupt animal abusers, and politicians. I'm cool with it. Minus the kid, I guess.
So we're going back to the storm drain, right?
Hell yeah.
Now we're going back to the storm drain. We're going to go find Ramon and Pennywise. No, so David basically has a plan. He's going to take his alarm clock dynamite bomb into the sewer, and he's going to set the timer for 2 minutes. And he basically, we don't know the whole full plan until like it's happening, and you're seeing what he's doing. So pretty much he's luring the alligator into like the methane pockets.
Yes. Yeah.
So that when the bomb explodes, like that whole area just goes up. And he plans on just escaping through the manhole cover, which didn't really work out great for him the first time he tried to do that. But second time's a charm. So so he gets down there, he lures the alligator, he's got his gas mask on for the methane, he sets the bomb up, but then he doesn't get hit by the tail. A lot of things happen that he didn't really want to happen. I think he's got at this point he's probably got like 40 seconds left when he's trying to, like, after fighting with the alligator, he gets up to the top of the manhole cover, or at the top of the ladder to the manhole cover, but somebody had parked on top of it, so he can't move it. And it's like this old lady, and Marissa pulls up and sees that that's happening, and she's just like yelling at the lady to move. And I forget what David yells from the sewer, but I think he yells like, "Move, you bitch," or something. And she just goes like, "Oh, what is that man with that language?" or something. Like, it's so funny. But Marissa kind of just like pushes her out of the way, gets in the car and backs it up. So David can get out with like 2 seconds left, and
it's a good tense
the bomb
moment.
explodes. Yeah, it's really good.
It's
so tense.
I wanted to smack that lady. I was like, dude, move that goddamn car. It's great.
Lady, you gotta move your car. There's somebody underneath. What are you talking about? Hey, you asshole! Look at me! Get over it!
It really works well. They really tighten the screws there at the end.
Yeah, it was very, very good. But yeah, so David gets out, the bomb goes off, the alligator explodes. Now, it did look like the alligator exploded from the inside, which I don't think that's I'm being nitpicky, and that doesn't really matter.
I breezed through the IMDb for this just to double check that I followed the plot correctly or whatever. Did you know that Bryan Cranston rigged the explosives for that alligator death scene?
I saw something that he was involved in the effects. Wow, that's nuts. That's cool, man.
That was his job on the movie, was rigging that final alligator death moment. Pretty cool. Yeah. I think that might be better than his Breaking Bad work. Good job. Good job.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the alligator's dead. David is successful at killing the monster alligator Ramon, and he's gonna go ahead and live a nice life with Marissa afterwards. This is where they kind of joke that. The police chief comes up and he's just like, you lived. I never doubted you for a second. And this is where he jokes that they should hook the police chief up with Marissa's mom, which give me that movie, baby.
I would love it. Want it. Just the two of them screaming at each other.
There's another bald high forehead burn, like right at the end of the movie, like 1:24. They slip like the fourth or fifth joke in at the end.
He just can't catch a break. He just saves the whole town. You should swoop your hair.
I think I'm gonna lock you up with her mother. How about that?
Her mother?
Think your mother would go for something like that?
Yeah, she might. She goes for that, increasingly high forehead look. I think it runs in the family.
Yeah.
baldy hero.
Yeah. But we get kind of like a pre-credits sequel tag, you know, because they weren't put stuff in the credits at this point. But it's we're in the sewer and the camera pans over to like a sewer drain, and another little baby alligator drops down, and you know, kind of just looks around at his new domain for Alligator II. Whatever the subtitle for that is, because there is an Alligator 2, Dan pointed out.
It's
but
called the Mutation, 1991. I haven't seen it. I don't feel like I need to.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I'll probably watch it, but
let us know.
I got to complete the set. So
that was Alligator.
So that was Alligator. Yeah. Let's get to the ratings.
Time for the ratings.
So here on Stabby Stabby, we rate our movies from 0 to 10 stabs, 0 being the worst and 10 being the best, because as we always say, we stab with love. So I'll kick it off and just go first. I think I would give Alligator, I'd give it a 7.5. It's and maybe it was more original at its time, but like I've seen this movie 1,000 times. This is incredibly well done. It's actually really funny. The characters are really strong. Robert Forster is fantastic. All the characters are great. It just is kind of like they're fighting a big monster. So it's not. Like I said, it's not that original or creative, but I did really have fun with it. It is 100% worth a watch. It's just not scream for help fantastic. So, but yeah, that absolutely 7.5 stabs for Alligator from me. I won't go into too much more why I liked it. We can move on to Eric, since you recommended it. How many stabs you giving it?
I think I would go 7 stabs on this bad boy. I love like the urban legend origin of it. It's got little Jaws tinges in it. Jaws in Michigan or Chicago, whatever city we're in. I don't even know.
It doesn't know either.
They kill a kid in a pool for no apparent reason. Henry Silva's Quint's awesome. I thought it was pretty cool, man. A lot of body count, good body count. It delivered on something that you would expect that was called Alligator. So good story. And Robert Forster, he just sells the whole movie, and you're just like bought in with him from the get-go. So yeah, I thought it was cool, man. I really liked it. Good times. How about you, Dan?
I'm right there with you guys. I'm going to give this a hearty 7. It's a strong recommend. I mean, what's there left to say? Every element of this movie was far better than it had to be like a 1980 creature feature called Alligator. Like it could have passed and been way worse than this, but it wasn't. It was super fun. And like we didn't mention, but this movie hauls ass. Like it goes so fast. Every scene has a job to do, and it does it, and it pushes you to the next one. Like there's one, usually when we're watching these movies, I'll kind of like check the time, like just to see how much time is left at a couple of points. The first time I checked the time to see how much time was left, it was like 10 minutes left. Like it just went that fast that I didn't even realize that I'd already seen most of the movie. It floored me. It was the fastest 90 minutes. So yeah, that's my recommendation. It goes by so quickly you'll miss it. No, yeah, it's the same reason all you guys talking about. Great performances. The writing was fun. I like all the allegory shit. Like there's stuff you could read into this if you wanted to, about like experimenting on animals and scientists doing evil shit and mayors and corrupt people, and they all get fucking eaten by the monster they made, and it's great. I dig it. Watch it. Why not? Why the fuck not? It's free. It's on YouTube. Stream it on YouTube. That's my recommendation. Why the fuck not, Raids, Dan? 7 stabs.
All right, cool. So 2 7s and a 7.5. It's basically the same. Yeah, so that was Alligator. Sounds like it's a big recommendation from us boys here at Stabby Stabby. And if you've made it through this far into this episode, as Dan would say, why don't you go ahead and just put your hand in your little pocket, just pull out just like 5 stars,
all 5,
just pop it into one of your podcast apps, and just give us 5 stars.
Size us up, measure us up and down, give us those 5 stars because we deserve them. And I don't know, when you leave a review, comment if you think the alligator should have wheels for legs, or if you think that the alligator should be as big as a truck and fighting a different truck. Should the alligator be the truck, or should it be fighting the truck? Let us know in your review. I would actually really thoroughly enjoy reading your hot takes, assuming you get all 5 stars on there.
Yeah, Dan doesn't take any feedback not 5-starred.
Yeah,
so.
No. I actually report any non 5-star reviews for hate speech to Apple, so I might get you canceled off of Apple's platform.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for listening. Come and join us on Instagram at StabbyPod. We'll be announcing what we're watching and other just bullshit. It's social media. Let's make it fun in our little corner of the horror place.
Yeah,
Greg's,
that's exactly right.
Greg's just giving
My brain
up
is
at the
broken.
end
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for listening. And we will see you next week. Like we say every week now. Don't forget to stab your friends. We'll see ya.